Hello and welcome to another OpenGL, SDL and C++ tutorial. In this tutorial we will find out how we can render 3D text with OpenGL. Actually there are several ways to render a text with OpenGL. We could use the 2D features of OpenGL like bitmaps and images. It can write directly to the screen. Although I don't really like that feature, so we will not use that. We could create quads and use a texture which represents a character. So make a quad and put a texture which says A in it. That's a solution. You can find it in this site. You can find an example. I believe this is the address. So you can find an example about this in there. So nehe.gamedev.net. Yep, but we will actually load all of the characters with OpenGL with our object loader which we have wrote earlier. And obviously we export out from Blender because we export out everything from Blender, which is a pretty simple task, about 5 minutes to render out all of the characters, and then you just load it with the object loader and everything will be good. I'll show you. This is a very simple tutorial. But before I actually go on to draw a text to the screen, we need to implement one more change to this OBJ loader. Why? I will show you in a moment. For example, if in case of this project everything will be in a font folder, so let me put the comment somewhere, not matter where. So in my desktop there is a font folder and there will be all of the characters. There's for example 0.obj. Okay, that's fine. We just write this path to the object loader. As you can see, it waits a const char. If I find we do not even need this or this, so it waits a const char. As you can see, we put the file name in there, so font/something.obj, and it will load without a problem because this file name will be font/something.obj. There is nothing problem with it. But what happens when it actually wants to open a material file? If I find there is an mtl lib, as you can see right here, and in here we created a file name and we read the path in it, actually just the file name. So here is an open file. As you can see, this is mtl/mtl.h. Okay, but actually this obj file inside the font folder. So this obj file inside font/0.obj. But our material file is inside the font/0.mtl. The problem in here, as you can see, it's right just 0.mtl. So this program will search after the material file in my desktop because the program is there. If the material file and the object file and the program is in the same folder, there is nothing problem. But if the material file is not in the same place as my program, it will create an error and it cannot load it. To fix that is pretty simple, just a few lines of change, so don't worry. First of all, I make a string this file name. So use not here in the load, I wanted to say. So this will be an std string, as you can see, and the reason is because we can easily handle with string. Don't worry, because you can still open the function with load and something like that. This is still work because this character, literal C-style character, will implicitly convert it to a string. So you have to nothing change in the program where you load it. So the only change in here that I make it as a string. Now I go back to the object loader cpp file and I change the load parameter to a string as well. So std string, pretty simple at this moment because this file name is a string and the IF stream, so the input file stream, waits for a C-style character. We just use the CSTR member function, which will return the C-style function, C-style string for this string. So it will open no problem. Now we actually need to get the path from it. So for example, if the path look like something like this, font/data.obj, then we want to get this font and press the caps lock. So we want to get this font slash, and later on where we loaded the name, so this will be data.mtl, we don't do anything else, just push this font to the beginning, so font slash, and it will work fine. This is all change we need to do. Alright, after I opened the file, so after it find out that the file is opened, I get the path. So I created a string, std string, and call it like path. Not really matter what you call it, but I call it path because this is the path of the file. Okay, to get the path we need to use the substr member function, which creates a substring from this string. So basically a little string, some part of the string. So file name dot substr, like substring, and we want to get from the character 0 to some character. We will find out how much where is this character. So we want to get the last slash sign, so the last one of this slash. Okay, to do that we use the find last of member function of the string. So actually I will see in a moment why I put this other parenthesis there. So file name dot find last of, so pretty easy what it said, is to find the last of this character which we will search for. We want to find the last slash sign. Okay, and this member function will return the number where it is. And actually, so for example, in case of font slash 0.obj, this is the file name, it will return with this, so the font. And yeah, this is pretty good, but actually we want the slash sign too. So pretty simple, I just plus 1 here. So I increase the number of characters where it is. So 1 character, so it will find the slash 2. Okay, and actually I want to examine if it is not 0. And you know what? I did it wrong. So now I want to examine that is it not 0. So it is not std string endpost. The std string endpost will be returned whenever it cannot find it. So this is a constant, and yeah. So if it is not that, then I use question mark. This is the free operand operator I've already shown you, I guess. So there is an expression here, expression, then question mark, then what happen if it is true, and what happen if it is false. So there is a colon and the question mark here, and 4 parameter. That's what I will use. So if it is find, basically we said that if it is find it, then I will make, so this I copy, so I will put this file name dot find last of parameter to the second parameter of the substring, as I just put 0 there, so 0 or colon 0. So basically it means if it is find the slash character, so this, then it will get the font substring. If it cannot find it, then we just don't do anything. The path is empty, completely empty, nothing in there because there is no path. Yeah, here the +1 is it should be. Okay, I believe it will work. I'll just close the parentheses, both of them, and yeah, let's go a little bit down where we have the mtl-lib. I will find out. Yeah, here it is, mtl-lib. And here, instead of use the file name in here where I open the mtl file, I actually create a new variable, so std string, and I call it file n2, like file name 2, not really matter what you call it, and this will be the path plus file n. So basically it creates a new string from the path. So for example it could be data slash and the file name, which is the file name 0.mtl. So it will create that. Okay, and I simply just do the file name .c_str in here because we need a C style string instead of a string object. Okay, I just check if I didn't leave some comments like this in the program, and yeah, we are ready to test it out. I actually have the 0.obj which is a perfect perfect to test it out. So I just go to the fur.cpp and I load it. So somewhere, not matter why, we just have to load it, we don't have to render it. So I create an unsigned int something, and I use the obj.load. The obj is an instance of the object loader, and the load is what we have created now. And we load the font slash 0.obj. Okay, and if the program will write that it cannot compile, or it write that there is a problem with load the material file, then we know that that what we have done is bad. Okay, try to compile it. Okay, it compiled, and try to run it. Okay, and as you can see, it didn't write out that there is a problem open with the material file, so it's worked perfectly. We can move on the real subject of this tutorial. Don't worry, it will not be too long. Okay, so let me start it. We need things like C string as an include file. We definitely need vector, so vector. Okay, and what else should we? I think we are pretty much done. We don't really need too much include file. I include the obj loader file, so include obj loader.h. That's just because that's coordinate structure which we have always used, so we don't have to use free float variable. We just have to use one structure. Okay, and I think we pretty much done. We don't need too much include. Okay, so I make this class. I call it tags because what else should I call it? And yeah, I make include guard. It's called include guard. So if not defined text underscore h, then I define it. So define text underscore h, and in here end this. So if someone wants to include this twice, then it will not give that the text is already included. That's what it is for. And then I will store two float variables, so float width and float width and height. Okay, this width and height will contain the width and the height of one character. This will be needed whenever I type a letter. Then I want to go one space next to the previous character, obviously. Okay, and what else we need? Obviously we need a vector, so std vector, which contains all of the letters, so unsigned, int, and what I should call it, characters, because why not? Okay, and pretty much that was all private thing, so we can go to the public. We need a constructor, obviously, so text, and it will wait two floats, so float, so float for the width and float for the height, and vector reference, so std vector, unsigned int, reference, and yeah, that's all parameter which is weight. So it's weight the width, the height, and the vector of characters. Obviously we use unsigned int instead of chars because these characters will be loaded with object loader, and we just give the ID to this class. Yep, that was the text. We need an important one, void and draw text. This will draw the text. So obviously we need a position, a rotation. This two wasn't so obvious, but we need a text too. So I use a coordinate structure. So coordinate pos like position, coordinate rot like rotation, and we need a text obviously. So const char. And what should I call it? I should call it text because, you know, why not? Okay, and yeah, pretty much that's it. That was this whole structure. We could make it with a simple function if we would want to, but I would say it will be good. Okay, you can add more member function like assign font or make another constructor. Not really matter, I just don't do it now. So let me implement these two pretty simple functions. So I include the text.age in here, obviously, so text.age, and I just implement this text. Obviously this is inside the text class, so I put two columns there, and make the width. Obviously we need to name this float somehow, so width, this other float will be height, and this will be ch like characters, so width equal w, height now equal h, and characters equal ch. Pretty simple. Okay, let's go to the other function which is very important. So this will be the draw text, I believe that's what I call it. Actually, let me just copy it so we will save time. We don't even need this right now, so yeah, we don't need that. Okay, so I just copied this whole thing into here. Yep. Okay, this will be text inside text, and let me draw it. So first of all, I push this whole thing into matrix. So push matrix, and in the end I just pop matrix. Why I do that? That's because we will use translate and rotate in here, and I don't want to screw the whole thing, so our whole transformation matrix. Because as you probably know already, if I use the translate somewhere, for example in this function, if there will be no push matrix and pop matrix, so I will use the translate in here. Everything which I draw after this text would be translated, and I don't want that. And similarly with the rotation or the scaling, so I just push matrix and pop matrix, so it will restore the earlier state of the transformation matrix. So if I rotate something, not everything will be rotated, just what I rotated. That's what it means. Okay, so first of all I put this text into the position, so GL translate F and pos.x, pos.y, and pos.z, like position x, so the xyz coordinate. Okay, and I rotate it, so GL rotate F. Okay, and I rotate it with rotate.x in the x-axis. Okay, and I rotate it, I just copy it to save time, as I always do. Okay, so I rotate it in the y-axis too, but this is the y. Okay, and z-axis, and this will be the z. Okay, this is just pretty simple. I rotate it in both three directions, although probably I will not use this, just later on, maybe if we need that. Okay, and now the most important for loop for this entire text class. So for int I equals 0, I less than strlen, and this text, I think I called it, yep, I++. So this is pretty simple. I start from 0, go through all of the characters in this text, and I will show you in a moment what I will do. So I call the list, so GL call list, and actually let me write it first and then explain it. So characters.at, the at is actually same that if I would use this, just it will make an additional check. Not really matter which one will you use. Okay, I converted an int and text I minus 65. Okay, so I just typed it and now I can explain it. So the characters it look like something like this. So I don't know, some random numbers, not really matter. So okay, so it look like something like this. This is free unsigned integer. Okay, and the first of these characters array, so characters is the A, the second is the B, and the first is the C. So these values each represent, obviously it goes to, actually these are capital letters, so capital A and capital B and capital C, and it will go to Z actually. Okay, and this will be random numbers, not really matter, although you cannot rely this, but usually this is numbers follow each other, so 123, 124, and so on, but not necessarily. Okay, so these are the characters. Now how would you get, the code of this character? The character of the letter A is actually 65, the character of the letter B is 66, the character of letter C is 67. You can find out from an ASCII table if you find somewhere, and I'm sure you can. Now how will you get this this 123 character from this two? Obviously pretty simple. You know the character code of A, I will just write it here, 65, and now the current character which you have, for example you have a current character C in some position, it's not really matter what position, you have a character C, then you just subtract 65 from it, so the character code of I from it, so it will be 2, so the index will be the second, so characters second, because 0, 1, 2. Okay, if you have an A character, like you want to write CA, then the next letter you will get the character code of this A, which is 65, you subtract 65 from it, so it will be 0, and you call the list which is at the characters vector 0th position, so 123. Okay, and similarly all other letters, because these letters will follow each other, this character code will increase one by one. Okay, that was the little trick. I think that's the only trick you have to get before you actually start, because that was the hardest thing in the old thing. Okay, and now I actually translate it. So GL translate F, I translate it in the x axis. So what does that mean? It's pretty simple. You write a letter, like write a C, then as the cursor goes, it doesn't write here and it will rewrite always as the insert would be pressed. Nope, it will actually write the C and then go a character space away. Write the A, go a character space away, and same thing for the others. So yeah, pretty much that's it, and I think we are pretty much finished. Okay, now we can try to compile the program. Of course, we need to delete this because it will not compile if those comments would left there. And I go to the fur.cpp and I create a text object. So text, and I actually create a pointer. So text. Now, why I created a pointer, you might wondering. That's pretty simple actually, because as you can see, our constructor only could be this. So float, and yeah, this. Okay, but I actually cannot load any object. Maybe I could, I don't think so. So I don't want to load any object outside of this, so in the global scope. Instead, I want to load the letters in the init scope function. Okay, and actually include the text file. Obviously, it wouldn't work without it. So text.text.h. Okay, we included. Now we can create a text object. And now in the init function we will have to load all of the characters from file. Okay, and yeah, let's go to Blender. Okay, here I am at the newest version of Blender. This is Blender 2.59, which is a pretty new version. I've used to the old interface. I like it more, but not matter, I will use to it later or not. Okay, so I just go front view first. I delete the default cube by press del and press enter, and I just press space and type text, so you can write a text. So add text. First of all, I need to rotate it because now we can't see it because it is parallel to us. So if I move this view, you can see the text is there, just we can't see it. So I just go back to front view. By the way, I press 1 in the numpad and I press RX and I press 90. So I just type 90. So I just rotate it in 90 degrees. Okay, now I press tab so I can change the text and I write a capital A letter in there. This will be our first letter. Okay, I just need to find this text thing, so this F object data should be this thing, and I actually add a little dash to this because as you can see there is no dash in it. As you can see, I can disappear completely if I want to, but I use this extrude, I guess, or not. Yeah, this is it. Just this too much. Okay, and I add 0.1. Okay, and it seems good. 0.1. That's. I don't know what I used my other model because I don't want to do it all in this in now. But I think it was a little bit, maybe 0.05. Okay, that's even better. Okay, I use 0.05 as extrude, so now the character has a little bit of depth. Now we need to save it, obviously, so I use File, Export, and OBJ because that's the only format we can load at the moment. So I go to my home folder and my desktop, and here is my font folder. I will export it as 0.obj. Okay, and here you can find the properties of the export. I always forget about it, so you want to export normals, high definition normals. I don't know what that's good for. We don't need UVs. I check the material, so later on if you want to add material you can do that. And yeah, that was all changed. Now you can just export it, and as you can see you first export the 0.object, 1.object, and so on up to 25.obj. This is all capital letters in the English alphabet, I believe so. So 26 because it starts from 0. So I just export it, and yeah, that was it. Now if I want, I could find out where an ASCII table is. So I find an ASCII table. As you can see, you have to follow this order. So A, B, C, D, F, G, blah blah blah. So if you want to use non-capital letter like small a, b, c, d, blah blah blah, you have to export these characters too. So this square bracket, this backslash, this other square bracket, this, I don't know what the name of this. So all of this you have to export. As your numbers will be not good, and it would cause that the text is written in bad order, so the letters will be bad order. Okay, so go back to my text editor. One more thing, so obviously you just delete this character, set to capital B and save 1.obj. Do this with C, and then obviously press cap to change the characters D and E and so on. So just follow this ASCII table, so A, B, C, D, F, G. So somebody who knows the alphabet is in good position, but I can do it with ASCII table too. So now go back to text editor. So here I am. Now we can actually load these models. Okay, so in the init I will actually initialize it. So text and so text equal new text, and the constructor is 2 floats, so I believe 0.7 was the width and 0.8 was the height. If not, we'll rewrite that later. And now the vector of characters, I haven't made that, so now that's the next. I just put a few space in there so I don't forget to put it there. So I create a vector, so std vector. This will store unsigned ints and I call it chars. Okay, and I use a for loop, so for int I equals 0, I less than 26, I plus plus. Alright, and then I use the sprintf function, which will write something to the text, which will write something as a text. So I create a temporary char variable, so char tmp, and it will contain not that much, 20 characters. Okay, so we will write a number to the tmp. The format of this number will be font/%d.obj. I may increase a little bit to 40 I said. So font/0.obj, this is the first, then font/1.obj, and so on. And this number, so the %d, will be the I. Yeah. Okay, and yeah, I just push back to the vector, so chars.push back, and I push back this first of all we need to load, obviously, so I create an unsigned int tmp2 and equal to obj.load and the name, which will be tmp. Okay, and I just push back this tmp2 to our vector, char vector, and then in the text constructor I just pass these chars to it. So I loaded all of the files, so font/0.obj, font/1.obj, this is the A, B, C, D characters, and then I push back the ID, the handler, to the chars, and I created the text with these chars. Okay, that was the big trick, not really magic, but now actually we need to render a text. So somewhere under this lot of thing, for example here, I believe, yeah, here, after I created, my structure is so bad, so yeah. Okay, so I called the draw text function, so text draw text. Okay, and this will wait the position, which is a coordinate, so I create a coordinate, and so not inside those planes and spheres we have created earlier, I put 10 units in the x-axis, 0 in the y, 0 in the z. Okay, and I create a new coordinate, this is just 0, 0, 0, and lastly the characters which we have run to write out. So hello world, we write a hello world program in OpenGL. It just needed a few tutorial. Okay, so here is it. It will write hello world, I guess, but probably we will have to fix mistakes. I have a feeling that I forgetted something. I don't know. Height. Okay, a mistype. I can handle that. This is not a big problem. I always have mistypes. So height. Or we wrote badly in here. Height. Okay, a little mistype. Don't worry about that. Now try again. Okay, and try to run the program. Oh, here is it. Hello world. Although the width was a little bit too little, because did I mistype it? Hello world. did I mistype the hello world text? Hello? Yep, I did. So, hello world. This time the computer has the right. Okay, so now if I run it again, so now here is it, hello world, and as you can see the W is a little bit inside this letter O because we need a little bit greater width, or you could write a different width for every character if you want, so I will not do that. I just add a little bit more space between each character, so I can really simple to do that. Just go back to the init function, so where I created the text. Obviously you need to delete the text, yeah, after here somewhere, so before this return 0, so delete text. Okay, this was already here, so yeah, it was here. Okay, so I just increase a little bit the space between each letter, so the first is the width, and make it 0.9 units. So compile, run. Okay, now it's a little better, not too good, but better. Okay, now let me handle a few spatial cases. For example, if the character is a space, so if text I equal to a space character, then I just want to translate and don't want to write it because we don't have space characters at the characters array, so I just translate it with width, yeah, and I use the continue keyword, continue. The continue will do is it will jump everything, so it will jump to the end of the for loop and start over again, so it will not draw it, so there will be one space, so try it out. Okay, so here where I write hello world, let me add the space in here. Okay, hello world. Okay, now if I compile it and run it and put it in the view, as you can see there is a little bit space between the hello and the world. Cool. Now let me handle one more spatial case when there is a new line character. So if text I equal to a new line character, this is actually two character as you can see, but because this is an escape character, this is one character. So it seems two character, but it's really one character. So if it is a new line character, then I go down a line. So I use the GL translate F. I go down, so minus height with a line, and I go back to the beginning of the line. I do that by use the GL translate F, and I use I times width with the and again this will be negative because I want to go back to the beginning of the line, and the others are just 0. Actually, you know what, I could write it in one line, so I just copy this and actually cut this and paste it there, so now it is one line, and I use the continue in here too, continue. Ooh, that's right. So this oh no, bad, not good. Okay, I need to create a new variable, so this will be exception. Alright, that's it. So that's why the .at is good. Obviously it has a little bit less performance because it needs to check if it is out of range or not. So yeah, it's good because you can handle it. So if something you want to just catch it, and you know you can handle it as you want. Obviously now it will render that I use only capital letters, so this \n from. Okay, so now we can run the program, I believe so. So here it is. Hello world from OpenGL, obviously in 3D. Try to do something a little bit different. We have an angle variable, as you can see. We created in the first tutorial or something this angle variable to rotate a triangle. Now try to rotate this text with this angle variable. So when I create it, I will pass angle in the x direction, and now this angle is a continuously increasing variable. So now if I just get in here, as you can see we have a rotating text. How cool we are. Now we can actually yeah, that was the end of the tutorial. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it, although this will be a little bit longer than I expected, but don't worry about that. Oh, I think I commented out the two lines which you know, this makes these lines disappear. Okay, we have a rotating text, we can move it if you want, so it's 3D, it's reacting to the light, so everything is just good. Thank you for watching and have a great day.